by knowing the force that is within you, that burning fire, knowing what kind of energy it is like, you actually make possible to use that energy in the most positive way possible. We don't want to be driven by a force that is within us that we don't understand. We want to understand the energies and we want to use them actively, consciously. Hi, I'm Cindy. In this video, I want to talk about your creative powers and how you can understand them through astrology and the tarot. You are a creative force. You have spiritual power. You have power to manifest on planet Earth according to the energy you carry within. There are a lot of systems that help you to understand who you are. And most basically, you are a spark of the divine incarnated into a physical body. You might also know that there is this... Oh, it's from the last video. There is a lot of symbols that help us understand the spiritual world and also the physical world. And one of those symbols is the pentagram, the 5-pointed star. This pattern, as you might know, is a cosmic pattern created by conjunctions of our star, the sun, and Venus in alignment with planet Earth, the planet where you reside right now. The pentagram represents how spirit comes into or manifests itself on the physical plane. The head of the star is associated with spirit, and the arms and the feet are representing the 4 elements: fire, water, air, and earth. You can get your birth chart with the 5-pointed Venus star, which shows the conjunctions of Venus and the sun in your chart. And the head of the star is actually the most important point. This is the point that actually shows you what kind your creative energy is like. And I have been doing videos in the past about what the Venus star point means and what Venus is and so on. So go back to my videos, watch them if you don't know anything about the Venus star point yet. In general, it's your creative force, your creative power that you carry within. It's something that you have already. It's like a burning fire inside of you. Now, how do you understand this creative energy? Of course, if you look at your birth chart, you see the zodiac, you see the signs, you see any planets, angles, and so on in the chart. So, of course, you know the sign of your Venus star point. If you have studied astrology a bit, you might know that the signs are divided into elements, or they are grouped into elements and modalities. So we have fire, water, air, and earth signs, and then we have multiple modality, fixed modality, and cardinal modality. The same division we do have in the tarot. And I love to use the tarot because the tarot is visual, and many of us, most people actually, are learning very well if they use visual content for learning. Now, you can use the tarot to understand any energy in your birth chart. When you want to understand the sign of your Venus star point, first think of the element. And the tarot is divided into major arcana, into the major arcana and into the minor arcana. Now, the minor arcana has the aces, and the aces are actually a representation of that entire element. So we have actually, I want to show you, I'm using the Radiant Rider-Waite-Smith here because it's very crisp, the images. So here are the 4 aces. So we have the Ace of Pentacles representing Earth. We have the Ace of Swords representing the air element. Then we have the Ace of Wands representing fire, and the Ace of Cups representing water. This is the first step. Search for the ace that represents the element of your Venus star point. You actually could really build the star and just use this measuring rod to build a star and create your star, your personal star. You can do this with all points of your star. Be doing this now with the head. Where do I have my guitar? Here. So I'm going to use my own Venus star as an example. The head of my Venus star is represented by the, well, it's a water sign. And of course, I'm taking the Ace of Cups because the Ace of Cups is representing water. So let's just put this here on the head of our little star. So now I could already get a lot of understanding by only meditating on that card. What does the cup represent? You know, what are the symbols? And you can use any tarot deck you like to use. If you are guided to use a very different deck, not from the Rider-Waite-Smith tradition, be free to do that, because that's important for you, and there's a purpose why you are guided to use a specific tarot deck. Only by contemplating on the element, by the card that represents the element, you can gain a lot understanding about what the energy of your Venus star point is like. Of course, we also have cards that are associated with the signs of the zodiac. So there are 12 cards of the major arcana that are symbolizing the signs of the zodiac. So now if you go further, so this would be the broad understanding, the element. This is very broad, the element. The zodiac sign is already more specified. It tells you a lot of more things about the energies. Let me see. This is the sign, this card. So this would be the next step. You go into the card that represents your zodiac, the zodiac sign of your Venus star point. And again, each tarot deck has a different outlook on what the card actually means, what that sign means. I have been working with the Santa Muerte Tarot lately. When I look at zodiac sign represented in this tarot deck, I get, actually, where is she? Ah, there. I get the lady myself. That's the card representing my Venus star point in the Santa Muerte Tarot. So it's, yeah, a representation of death, and it's very different. I will make a video about this card in the near future, because this really well represents the forces of life and death. So this is a very beautiful artwork. There's more. Once you studied the element of your Venus star point by choosing the ace that represents your element, and after that, once you've studied the card that represents the sign of your Venus star point, you can go further. Some of you might have planets with the Venus star point. When you have planets with your Venus star point in the same sign as the Venus star point is, those planets are very prominent. They are very, very strong, and they are directly connected to your creative powers and what you are here to share with the world. So these planets, I recommend studying very, very well. The tarot, of course, also has cards that are represented, or that are representing the planets. For example, if you had the moon, you would look at the High Priestess, because the High Priestess is associated with the moon. If you had Mercury with your Venus star point, you would study the Magician. The Magician represents Mercury. Or if you had Venus, you study the Empress. If you had the Sun with your Venus star point, you study the Sun card. If you had Mars, then you study the Tower card. If you had Jupiter, you study the Wheel of Fortune. And if you had Saturn with your Venus star point, you study the World card. So those cards give you more insight into what kind of planetary connection you have with the Venus star point, and how those planets are manifesting through you, through your creative endeavors in this world. And by creative endeavors, I do not mean art and music. It can be, but it's not for everybody. Art, music, paintings, sculpture, whatever. It is everything that you do here in this world, because you are a creative being. You always create. So you are a creative being by default. You carry creative powers within you. What is important is to understand what this creative energy is like. If you do not understand this driving force within you, you can actually experience a lot of difficulties, because that energy is not something that waits to be used or something. It is always active. So this energy wants to be expressed in one way or another. So if you do not understand that energy, if you don't harness it, if you do not use it, what is the word? if you are not in charge of that energy, if you don't take charge of that energy can be very destructive. There is a destructive side, a shadow side to all the planets and to all the zodiac signs. By knowing the force that is within you, that burning fire, knowing what kind of energy it is like, you actually make possible to use that energy in the most positive way possible. So this is what we want. We don't want to have the shadow side. We don't want to be driven by a force that is within us that we don't understand. We want to understand the energies and we want to use them actively, consciously. Just wrapping this up. This is how you understand your creative powers with the Venus star point and using the tarot. What you do is you pick the card of the tarot that is representing the element. So the ace that is representing the element of your Venus star point is the first you want to know, you want to meditate upon. Then you go into the card that represents the sign of the zodiac that is your Venus star point in. So this is the next step. The third step is you look at any planet that you might have in the same sign as your Venus star point and you search for that card in the tarot. So 3 steps: the aces, then the sign, and then the planets. Also very important is the ruling planet of the zodiac sign that is your Venus star point in. So for me, it's Scorpio. Scorpio is ruled by Mars. So I would also study the Tower to understand what my creative powers are. And also, what I want you to know is that there's a purpose for you having this energy, and this energy is very much interacting with other people. So be cautious about it and understand how you impact other people through that energy. Taking charge of your creative powers is very important to be an active creating force. That also means that you take your will and you choose to use your creative powers by will and not being a victim tossed around by whatever energy you carry within. So that's why you want to study your birth chart and your Venus star. I hope this helped. I hope you will understand your creative powers more and more, and I hope that you learn how to use them in the most possible positive way ever. Understand your energies. That's all for now. See you next time. Bye bye. Such a beautiful candle, little owl.